And I think that's us live.
Alright, I suppose we'll see in chat if that is true in a moment.
It should be. Although on my phone I'm not seeing anything yet.
I am seeing a stream on my computer, so I think we are actually live.
Fantastic. Oh, I'm getting an email notification that I am in effect live. Yes, we get the first confirmations in chat. Excellent. We did it. Technology. It works. I'm not cut out to be a streamer. So while we wait for people to trickle in, the quick joiners, how are the audio levels? Are we nice and clear? Can you hear both of us fine?
Now we have that awkward pause while the stream catches up.
Yes. I think the delay is like almost a minute or something by the time they comment something.
Yeah.
I see Tim in the chat, Stefan, Yusan, Darren. Nice to see you guys. Tyler says we sound good. Excellent.
Yep.
Thanks everyone. Constant back noise. Oh, that's probably me actually. 1 second.
Thanks for informing us, that way we can fix things.
Is that better? Dirk is a bit quiet. Okay, let me bump that up a little bit. There we go, that should be better then.
Is this better? Am I less quiet?
Yes, okay, excellent.
Good.
Well, I think we can get started. So welcome everyone to this second list reveal stream. Thanks to overwhelmingly positive reactions to the last one initiated by Menno, we are now once again going to take a look at lists for an upcoming tournament in the Netherlands. Joining me this time is the tournament organizer Dirk Jan. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Dirk Jan. I am organizing tournaments in Amersfoort, mostly because I live here and no one else is doing it. And I thought we'd do 1,000 points because I didn't see any tournaments near that level very often here, and I thought it would be fun to do every now and then at least.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had a 1,000-point tournament in a really long time, at least not that I can remember. So that's quite nice. It's something that's more common over in the States, but not definitely not here. And it's quite funny as well, because the last review that we did, or list reveal that we did, was for a very low points tournament of 320 points, and this time we're going all the way up to 1,000, so it's a nice contrast there.
Is a nice contrast.
So would you like to tell us a little bit more about the event? Is there anything special that you've done for the event to accommodate 1,000 points?
Well, we're playing on 6x4 boards, which is what the match play guide tells you to do. Which was surprisingly difficult sourcing enough battle mats and the like of the proper size. I'll thank the White Scars for providing most of the mats.
Yeah.
In the interest of time, I also set a hard limit of 100 models, because we are already going to be a bit short on time. We're already going to be done at 6:30. If people are moving 100 individual models across a giant board, this is going to take ages. So that's a consideration that you have less for other tournaments, I expect.
Yeah. Although most tournaments in the Netherlands do tend to go to time, because we tend to have 2-hour rounds. I think for this one we have 2.5 hours per round, is that right? Yeah, so we also have a bit more time to make sure that we actually get to use all of those 1,000 points in those rounds. Yeah.
Wherever possible, I followed guidelines in the match play guide for timing and size.
Awesome. I think there's two small little changes from the match play guide though, because there's
of course, my Maelstrom changes.
Yes, and also a veto system.
And veto system, yeah, pool veto this time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing around with scenario selection systems a little bit. The last tournament I did was full random veto, so I just roll 3 scenarios and you do veto. This time I'm doing pool veto. seeing what people think. I've heard a general more positive outlook on pool veto because it removes the worst of the skewiness that you do sometimes get with veto. But it still allows you to veto the matches that you really can't win.
Yep. Yeah, I'm personally more of a fan of just true random because there's a few lists out there that are really strong if they have the opportunity to ignore those particular ones that they're pretty bad at. But if it has to be veto, pool veto is vastly superior to full random veto because that's just kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about those alternative Maelstrom rules? Because there was a bit of a discussion about that in the Discord server as well, leading up to the event.
One of the biggest rules I'm noticing that people are not quite as happy with in the game is Maelstrom, because of how the order in which you deploy is such a massive factor. It's such a massive advantage to go second, because your opponent has entirely deployed, and then you deploy. While almost all other scenarios, you do deploy alternatingly to make sure you can respond to each other a bit. So I set out to try and work out a system that will fairly make Maelstrom alternating, and with quite a lot of help from yourself, I think we got a decent system.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to hear after the tournament what people think. I hope I actually roll Maelstrom scenarios so it comes up.
Yeah. I mean, we could just go for all that effort and just not have Maelstrom, the pool.
It is possible.
Yeah. So for those of you that
enforced one, but we'll see.
Yeah. So for those of you that are unaware, the alternate Maelstrom rules basically mean that Maelstrom rules happen after both players have had their move phase, and then you start with the player that has priority as per normal, but then alternate for warbands. So on turn 1, when nobody has deployed yet, the player with priority does have to start, but then it's alternate, and then in subsequent turns, at least both players have to do their full movements before you're going to roll for the remaining warbands and you alternate as normal. It's funny because there was a big discussion in GBHL about this alternate rules as well, because it's been popping up in more events as well, and there were actually quite a few people that are against this because they think it gives people that have strong models or strong warbands in Maelstrom an unfair advantage because they can always force that warband to go after at least most of the opposing army. So, I mean, I guess everyone's a critic, right? There's no way to do it perfectly,
yeah.
but
I will counter that argument a little bit with the fact that now it's a strategic decision, which I think is better than it's a 50-50 chance on whether you get to do that. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think it's vastly preferable. So I'd like to hear from people in the chat if you actually changed your list building with these tweaks in mind. The 6x4 boards, the veto system, the alternate Maelstroms, did that have an impact on your list building? And I guess while we wait on the comments, we can start looking at some of the lists that people submitted for the event.
Yeah, I actually thought we'd start with some stats, because there
of course.
A unique thing like this, I thought it'd be interesting to have some graphs and stats. So first here I've got the factions and the leaders. Obviously there appears to be far more factions because some people have allies, and that makes that a bit wider, while there are exactly 20 leaders possible. Yeah, the first thing that I notice here is that Minas Tirith has a significant presence.
Yep. Although I will say it's not that much more than usual, because Minas Tirith is quite popular here with a lot of players.
What I'm also noticing is that it's quite a wide graph. There is quite a wide variety of factions represented, which either speaks to the health of the game or the fact that Dutch players build their list for what they enjoy instead of what is strong.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, still a lot of Minas Tirith. I'm guessing partly because people want to bring siege weapons, and Minas Tirith has some of the better ones.
Yep. I mean, Minas Tirith has two, and one of them is good and one of them is bad, but we'll see that later.
I mean, the other one can be good if you roll real well, but that just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And Serpent Horde you obviously see a lot because, well, allying in Sul'dana into everything is still a thing, even at 1,000 points.
Yep. But we can also see Sul'dana is the leader in 3 of those lists, so...
Yes, those will probably be the Serpent Horde Farhadad lists, all 3 of them. Which we'll get to in some very fun lists.
Yeah. We can also see that Denethor is a leader 3 times, which is quite high. But of course, with a veto system, you don't have to worry about Contest of Champions. So, there you go.
Exactly. That is why Denethor might be a bit higher than you would sometimes expect. Because, yeah, you can just veto Contest of Champions, and he isn't an issue.
Yep. Although I will say, I will still take Denethor, even if Contest of Champions is a risk. He's just that good. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, 25 points for 15 warband slots that's a bit more...
Well, 35, but mostly because in 16 out of the 18 scenarios, you can just hide him behind a house and not have to worry about it. In one of those 18 scenarios, you can just run forward and start killing things because it's Fog of War and there's no points, and then only in Contest of Champions, it's truly an issue.
Yeah. We see 2 Gandalf as leaders, which I also find interesting, because usually you don't see a lot of Gandalf.
No, because he's so expensive for what he does, but I guess at 1,000 points...
Even at this point level, he's still a quarter of your force.
I know.
If you take him on horse.
It hurts.
I don't think anyone took Gandalf and did not take Shadowfax.
Yeah, it hurts. So I've seen some comments, and most people say, yeah, I definitely would have changed my list based on the event, more mobility, more shooting to use the time, says Tim. Sea of Bi said, no, my list is bad and will remain bad. So, okay. We'll see.
That is one way to build your list. Just build with the models you have, accept that it's a bad list, and go have fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all about winning, right? It's about enjoying the game and having a good time with the people across the table from you.
I'm going to add here that our lists are exactly 50-50 divided between good and evil.
Nice.
Which is always nice when that just happens.
So you're telling me we could have made this a good versus evil tournament?
I could have.
Yeah.
In hindsight.
Let's not.
1,000 points of good versus evil will be a bit too much transport, I think.
Yeah.
Here I have the first of all the alliance distribution. So we have no red alliances.
Good.
There are some fun ones you could have made. But this is still nice. About 20% Legendary Legions, about 20% pure. Quarter of them green, and with a slight majority, most 35% are yellow alliances.
Yeah. It doesn't really surprise me at this many points. It's very tempting to go for those interesting alliances, right? So.
Yeah, you see a decent amount of just, this list is missing something a little bit, let's just ally it in. Let's just throw in a Gwai here.
Sprinkle a little bit of the bird in, like...
Sprinkle a little Gwai here, put in a little Radagast.
Just a bit of salt and pepper. Yeah. So what interested me a lot is the model count graph, right? Because I expected a lot more models at 1,000 points. Like, you did make the 100-point limit or model limit, but the highest count is 60, which is really surprising to me. Of course, one Mad Lad brought only 8 models, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, that was actually the second list I received.
Nice. So, but you can see the spread is really close. So the lower quartile to the upper quartile, 43 to 54, it's with 10 models range, so it's like really close together.
I'll be honest, I find this 5-number summary hilarious, because it's, all between 60 and 40, and then suddenly there's 8 in the back.
Yes. Well, and there's something with 12.
There's one with 12, there's one which is 19.
Yep.
And I think we have a Theoden's Riders, which is a bit on the lower side.
Yeah, but higher than I would expect from Theoden's Riders. But we're spoiling too much. Let's
we'll get there.
Let's just dive into it and see the first list.
Yeah, so we're starting with the one host of the Dragon Emperor.
Yes.
Which at this point level is just a huge list. I hope these are legible. They are on my screen.
I think so. Question mark.
difficult to make it not. If they're
But-
not legible, let us know. Maybe we can try and do something
Well,
about it.
we'll just read them out. Also for the people that are just listening while painting, right? So the Host of Dragon Emperor, piloted by Alexander, 55 models, of course led by a Dragon Emperor of Rune with a full warband, 3 cataphracts, one of which has a drum, 3 black dragons without a pike, and 12 with a pike and shield. Then there's the rest of the heroes are Rutabi, a captain with a shield, Brogir, and a Dragon Knight, and they all have a mix of warriors with shield, pike, a few acolytes sprinkled in. There's a single runish wardrake in Brogir's warband, and the Dragon Knight obviously has some more black dragon warriors with him because those are free in the warband thanks to Legendary Legion bonus. So 55 models overall, just 2 bows, but the Emperor of Legendary Legion doesn't really shoot, it just runs up to you and fights.
Makes a very solid pike block and then doesn't really move until it has to.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, this is probably one more hero than I would run for the Emperor Legion, but I like it warrior heavy. Still, 55 models is fine, considering the highest model count is 60, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have gotten a few more models. I wonder if that would have made a bigger effect because of the playing board?
Yeah, so...
Board size?
Yeah, and like the 12-inch banner of the Emperor is crazy, but if at a 6 feet wide board, it's suddenly less... Like, you don't automatically cover all of your army anymore.
Yeah.
So that also makes a bit of a difference, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a strong legion. What can I say? I've played it a lot myself. This will probably do well. I don't think this list will particularly like the heavy amount of siege that we'll see. Spoiler alert. So you might have a bad time, Alexander, depending on who you have to play against.
There is some very powerful shooting in general in these lists, which could be an issue here.
Yeah, but in general, the Emperor Legion doesn't really care about shooting; it just cares about siege. So,
I do hope that we get this against the 8 model list, and I'll explain why in a little bit, because spoilers.
Yes, I get you. But yeah, nothing else to say. It's the Emperor Legion. It's skilled up to 1,000 points. It's going to be solid. Oh, Alexander is in the chat with a frowny face. I'm sorry, Alexander. You'll see what we're talking about in a little bit, but you might encounter something that you won't like playing against.
Mm-hmm. I don't think we have much more to say on this list, so we'll just move on to the next one.
Yes.
Which is Lothlorien and Numenor Rivendell. There are 2 lists in here that made me double check a rule that I didn't know before. The original version of this list had a Sealdoer in it with a ring. However, that wasn't allowed because there's an Elendil.
Correct.
Which I didn't know, but makes a lot of sense.
Yep, because you don't have the ring until Elendil dies, because that's when Sauron. Yeah. So yeah, this list, Galadriel I think is the leader, considering she's at the top.
Yes.
Galadriel, Elendil, Glorfindel with a pretty much full warbands on all of them. A few Wood Elf warriors, but mostly Galadrim with some shields, some spears, a sentinel mixed in, a few Numenorians, 4 of which have bow, and the other ones have spear and shield. And then Glorfindel leading even more high elves, including 2 Rivendell Knights. So it's the 2 elves and Numenor allied in, and this list basically says, I see your magic and I do not care. Because Galadriel doesn't really care. Elendil and Glorfindel have Fortify Spirit, basically. Not Fortify Spirit.
I think Glorfindel has basically I think Glorfindel actually has Fortify Spirit.
Yeah.
Elendil maybe another version that gives basically resistance.
They both have 2 dice for free to resist spells at any given time. So yeah. For those of you that have broadcasters in hopes of turning off the big scary heroes you were expecting to see at 1,000 points, this list basically says, nah.
And I can reveal most of you have broadcasters.
There's a lot of casters. Although, I mean, it's not a guarantee, right? Because at some point they're going to run out of will, and at some point that those 2-3 dice will still not roll that 5 or 6. So.
And it is a yellow alliance, so you can still try to play around with the warriors to get them in position, because even the Lothlorien units don't get their resistance to magic because it is a yellow alliance.
Yeah, so no resistance on Lothlorien, no resistance on the Numenorians within 6 inches of Elendil either. Yeah, and they do both have fortified spirits, thanks Larry and Alexander. Yeah, I mean, it's 45 models, which is a decent number. It's super elite. It has 2 really hard-hitting heroes. Elendil can kill stuff for days and get free hero combats. Galadriel has free resource to keep casting all the time. It's got 15 bows, which is pretty impressive as well. This is just a solid list, and like the only weakness it has is maybe it will have a hard time covering all of the board. But then again, most of the lists will have that struggle because not that many people have more models than this.
Yeah, this is on the lower end of the section of regular models, right? It's 2 models above the lower quartile. So we could say it's on the lower side of models, but spread over a huge board. Depending on the scenario, you can probably find a choke point where it won't matter as much.
Yeah. I will say though, this list only has 1 banner in it, which... Yeah. You know, you're relying on your high fight value. You might want to get a little bit more rerolls in than just that 1 3-inch bubble. That's a very small area for on such a large board.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised how few lists brought 2 banners. I think there's only 1, 2 maybe. Though I haven't looked at it specifically, so I could be wrong there. Which I think is a case of people aren't used to playing this amount of points, and at most other points levels, 1 banner, while it won't cover your entire line, will cover enough that investing in the second one isn't that necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And here, especially with the high fight value, having a banner everywhere is so impactful.
Yeah, I completely agree. But yeah, I think it's a really solid list. It doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. I think it'll do quite well.
Tim is telling us that the Numenorians do get resistance.
Yeah, I was just going to look that up actually. I saw that comment. Oh.
Yeah, but even then, the Numenorians are probably mostly the backline, because the Numenorians have spears and the elves mostly don't.
Oh yeah, no, their army bonus is at +1 courage. That's the same as Minas Tirith.
Of course.
I forgot about that. It goes to show I don't play Numenor, so my bad.
But still, you can pull the elves out of position, set up for maybe some hero combat slingshot, or maybe if you have a monster or hurl.
Yeah.
Or maybe if you have siege, you can move a troop that's currently a scatter target back into range.
Yep. Yeah, you might honestly have a better time casting magic at the troops here than at the heroes, but it depends on the situation. You can still force spell through if you throw enough at them.
Yeah.
All right.
Move on. I love this list.
Oh yeah, we have 52 models, of which 19 are rangers, and the rest are hobbits and dogs. Yay!
I do wonder how much this build has actually been done because of the Maelstrom, because he can't just pop in a Dunedain until you're deployed.
Yep.
And then put everything down.
Yep, basically. But you still have to roll for everything, right? So with the more warbands, there's still more chances of your opponent at least getting to put a few of them in a really annoying location. So.
Mm-hmm. Or half of them just not coming on.
Yep. It's, I mean, it has an obvious beat stick in Aragorn.
Mm-hmm.
With Andoril. That's just going to do a lot of work. It has might for days. But it has...
Yeah, this is one of the 2 lists with 25 might.
Yes. I saw that and I was like, oh, there's another one. Nice.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, might for days. You have the ring and Bilbo, maybe, probably.
Yes.
So Aragorn will be out fighting anything scary, probably.
Well, provided Bilbo can get to it with its 4-inch movement. It's a big board.
Mm-hmm. That is still an issue.
So there's 2 issues with this list. One, it's lack of mobility, although Aragorn can do march, of course, that helps a lot. And then it's super squishy, so if you do get into combat with stuff that outfights you, say an Emperor Legion, it's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
But it has a lot of bows, and a lot of might behind those bows, so it can certainly kill a lot of stuff before it gets into combat if it has its way.
And I think everything that doesn't have a bow can throw stones.
And not the dogs.
Not the dogs, right?
Yeah. And Lobelia... Lobelia can throw stones, I'm pretty sure.
I think that's... basically every Hobbit has a throw stones rule, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't play Hobbits either.
Me neither, I don't have that much money.
You're right, it's really expensive. But yeah, it's a cool list. What can I say? We'll see how well it can do. I think, given the right scenario, it could do really well. But I have the feeling it could also just die to its matchup.
Yeah. I just love the idea of the list. I don't know if it's gonna work, but...
Well, Jelle can show us this weekend.
Yeah. Next we have the 8-model list.
Yes. So,
which,
I think this list is the answer to a question everyone's been asking for a long time. If a bear shits in the wood, does it make a sound? And apparently it does if there's ants to hear it.
Yeah. So this is the list I want the Emperor to face, purely for the bludgeon interaction.
Yeah, the FAQ errata thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is a super weird list. I mean, it's a few trees, Radagast on sleigh, an eagle, and another eagle, and a bear.
You pissed off the animals, now they're coming for you.
Basically. Super cool. Yeah. I don't have much to say.
I don't think there is much to say.
It's big stuff. I think, I will say, we also mentioned this for Alexander's list. I think this list especially hates Siege, because there's only good targets.
Mm-hmm.
So the Scatter, what's that? I don't care.
The Great Eagle, that's your cheapest unit.
Yeah, but if the Great Eagle gets hit, then it doesn't have any fate to save the wound, so that's probably the worst target to get hit by Siege. It's just gone. So, yeah. But Jesper's been playing these kind of lists more recently, and in some events he's been doing really well with them. So, given the right scenario or matchup, you can actually do really well with stuff like this.
I think he actually sent me this list a day or two after Skirmish at the Sweet Lake, where I think he played a version of this.
Yeah, he played 2 ants.
Yeah.
I think. I don't remember, but it was ants.
It's also very possibly one of those lists that really hope that the timer runs out.
Well, it's 2.5 hours. I mean, and you don't have that many models to move around, so...
Yeah.
From what I remember at Skirmish, there were 2 people that brought ants, and I don't think any of their games, of those 8 games combined, went to time. Yeah. But yeah, let's see how it does. Yeah. Jimmy.
Then we've got our first trebuchet.
Yes, there's a trebuchet. We have a 1,000 points of Ministry piloted by Jimmy. It's 60 models, so this is the highest model count on the tournament. It's 60 models, with Denethor, Boromir with the banner, Ingold, Madril, a trebuchet, a bolt thrower, and another bolt thrower. And then the troops are a mix of knights, a single silver guard on horse, from what I can see, some Fountain Court guards, some warriors, and then some rangers with spears, and some rangers without spears.
And there's several more Citadel guards who aren't on horse with bows.
Yes.
Just sprinkled around.
Yeah, so for that strength 3 shooting. Yeah. So yeah, this is the Ministry Horde, but it also has Boromir, so it can have a fight 5 bubble around Boromir, and it has really good shooting in the shape of a trebuchet and 2 bolt throwers.
And 14 bows.
Yes. Yes. Yep. So, no blinding light on this side, but I think even if it's facing up against something with blinding light, it'll probably outshoot it.
With a trebuchet, you kind of outshoot by threat, because the chance that you hit a center mass is small, but if it hits, it does so much damage that you just need to close the distance.
Yes. Yes, there's always that chance, right? Because I did it once against Kirdan, where he had blinding light up, so I figured I just shot at him, and then I hit on a 6, and then I rolled a 5 to scatter, so I mited it to a 6, and then did the wound, and Kirdan filled his fate roll, and Kirdan was just dead. Like,
yeah.
Yay!
I had a game this weekend with a friend where I was playing against a trebuchet, and he just hits my Balrog.
That's half your wounds gone.
And that's half my wounds gone. Suddenly I can break, which I'm not used to with that army.
Yeah, it's crazy. Red Fox asks why no swift reload on the bolt throwers. So I used to be of the opinion that you should always take swift reload, and then I did the maths, and it turns out 2d6 drop lowest is only on average 1 shot more per turn than just rolling a single d6. You go to 4.5 shots per turn up from 3.5, and you're paying 20 points for it. And you're not getting any extra crew for it, you're not getting more board presence for it, it's just more reliability and 1 more shot a turn. So on average it's not really worth the 20 points if you can just spend those 20 points on getting more troops or getting another bolt thrower. Because like, he could have brought a 4th siege engine, because he has already 4 heroes, right? So could have maybe, I don't know, downgraded a hero and not taken a trebuchet and taken 4 bolt throwers instead or something. That's something you could do. But of course, if you're taking the upgrade on every bolt thrower, they become quite expensive.
Yeah, and it is, if you have 2 bolt throwers, you can position them in different places so they have different areas of cover. They will shoot more on average, and it is only 30 points more than having one with swift reload.
Yes. Do you know what's better than 2 bolt throwers, though?
3 bolt throwers?
3 bolt throwers! It's my list! Hello! So before I explain this list, maybe you can go over it, and then I'll see what people in the chat have to say, ask, or think about this before I give away all of my secrets.
Yeah. So, we have Denethor, Irolas, and Boromir as the heroes, with what seems like mostly Fountain Court spam with warriors of Minas Tirith with shield and spear. A few knights sprinkled through, and 1 citadel on horse with a citadel guard with a horse and a bow. 3 bolt throwers, and then Gwahir. I see someone crying in chat already.
So basically this list is an upskilled version of the list I took to Nations Cup, where the changes are Irolas is added onto it, an extra bolt thrower is added onto it, and some more dudes. The idea behind this list is very simple. The troops are super hard to kill because of defense 7 or defense 6, depending on whether you're fighting against strength 3 or strength 4, you're putting one or the other in the front. It has a Gwahir that normally struggles with only having 2 attacks, but if you can keep him near Boromir, then you have a reroll, which really helps, and you have some might from Boromir to move him around rather than having to spend their own might. Bolt throwers are really obnoxious to go in against. You have to basically move into this army, and then moving into an army with this amount of shooting and a Gwahir is just really annoying. So it's lots of tiny little synergies, and the cherry on top is that Gwahir isn't even the leader, it's Denethor, and Denethor could just hide behind a building somewhere and just not do anything all game. So it's basically designed to not break, not give up a leader kill, and have enough bodies and enough big heroes to just go for the objective, and if there's no objective to go for, then you basically have to come towards this army. Because it's certainly not going to have to come to you with 3 bolt throwers. No. Well, I mean,
unless you're going against the trebuchet, then there's a chance that maybe you do have to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I say that, but there are like 2 lists, I think, on the tournament where I'm like, I think I actually have to go towards them.
Yeah. Why did you pick Irolas instead of Ingold for that captain slot there?
March.
For the March?
Yes, yeah. March. That's the one thing I sometimes missed. There's always scenarios where you have to go forward, right? And sure, you have Gwahir for mobility to get somewhere quick, but you typically don't really want to throw him forward on his own. And it's mostly an infantry army, so having March is just useful. And also, I don't really need Ingold. His shield wall thing doesn't do much. Don't really need an extra striker. Irolas has bodyguards, so he can just go camp an objective with some dudes and never have to worry about courage stuff. And he's got heroic defense, fight 5, and this shielding special rule. So he's super durable also for things like Clash by Moonlight, Assassination, things like that, where you just don't want your heroes to die. He's just pretty solid.
Yeah. I think the heroes of yours that are most vulnerable are probably your siege veterans.
Yes.
And those are probably far enough away that getting to them is going to be an issue.
That's the idea, at least. Although I will say sometimes I move them up with the army, just for those might points.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
I think we can move on to the next list then?
Yeah, let's do it.
which is
Larry.
Larry with a Shadow Lord, because he was probably expecting a lot of shooting.
Oh, he wasn't wrong.
A budget, quite budget ring wraith.
Yes. Just single fate point, 2 might points, 2 will points. Also Durbers, a Moria Goblin Captain, a Watcher in the Water, and a Spider Queen.
Yep.
Supported by a smattering of Numenorians, Moria Goblins with spears to go behind them, some of them with shield, and in the Spider Queen's warband there's a Fell Warg and a Bat Swarm.
Yeah.
There's only one Bat Swarm. I would have expected another one just for good measure. But yeah, this is nasty, right? Because the Spider Queen and the Watcher in the Water are two really, really big threats. And especially the Watcher in the Water with the Bat Swarm combo, where you pull something into base contact with yourself. It's a combo that's really hard to play around, so it can just eat any big hero, basically.
Yeah. And especially wielded by Larry. I know he knows how to wield a Watcher.
Yes. Yeah. No, this is nasty. It's yeah. What can I say? It's also 57 models. Like, don't forget, like, it has these two really big things, but still 57 models. So it's definitely able to contest objective scenarios and resist shooting thanks to the Shadow Lord.
Yeah,
so it'll
two Harbinger bubbles. Wherever your line is, they're likely to have trouble charging the Numenorians.
Yeah. Like, the only thing that is maybe tricky is that if an enemy gets around the Numenorians, the rest is all like defense 4, defense 5, so it's relatively easy to kill, and with low fight value as well. So if an opponent gets a good engagement on them, which is a big if, because Larry's good at positioning, it might break. But, you know, if that happens and a Watcher has to come on, yeah, you can just throw the Watcher in the middle of the shield wall and do that. Although I don't think that's the smartest play of the Watcher usually.
No, but the Watcher can patch a hole if one suddenly appears, if it's needed.
If it's really needed, yes. Yeah, no, I think this will do well. It's one of the lists to look out for. Definitely.
Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting and I love it. Next we have Riders of Theoden. 33 models on Riders is impressive.
Yes. This is like more than you usually see for Riders of Theoden. So it's, of course, Theoden, you have to take him in the Legion. 5 Royal Guards with him. Eomer, again, 5 Royal Guards. Elfhelm with 4 Royal Guards. Oh, Dernhelm in the Warband. I missed that when I looked at it first. Some 4 Riders of Rohan. Gamling with 4 Riders of Rohan. And Deowen with 4 Royal Guards. So it's 33 models overall, which is quite high. Because normally you see Riders of Theoden being run as almost like a hero hammer list, where it's just heroes and like a few Royal Guard mixed in, but the idea being that you need to kill the heroes in order to break the list. And this is basically those heroes that you would normally see, and then all of the remaining points have just been used to get more warriors.
I think this is all the named heroes in the list. So to get to 1,000 points, then you need to start adding warriors. Or captains.
Yeah, because Urkenbrand can't be taken in this, right?
No.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Yeah. I don't know if you would take captains. Although within range of Theoden and with death, they can still pack a big punch, so maybe. But yeah, I mean, it's Rise of Theoden. It's the best way to run Rohan, generally speaking. Yeah. So.
And it has an absolute horse ton of throwing spears, which is also going to be somewhat nasty.
Yeah. Well, if it gets the opportunity, it can skirmish a lot. I think there's not that many lists where it will get the opportunity to do that with. Because I don't think there's low mobility, no shooting lists in the tournament, not that many at least.
No, that's true.
But yeah, it has a lot of mobility. It can usually dictate where it wants to charge, and then when it does charge, it will definitely hurt at least for one round, and then it hopes to kill you enough afterwards. Yeah, no, it's cool.
We have this one, which was sent to me with the title Homebrew Assaulting Lothlorien.
Yeah, I can see that. So, is this Max Melder?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, where's the Balrog? Because normally he takes the Balrog Legendary Legion. Yeah, so Moria and Dark Denizens of Mirkwood with Durburs, Druzog, Ashrok, and a Spider Queen. It has a grand total of 18 spiders, I think. Wait,
Something
14.
Like that.
Yeah, 18 warrior spiders and the Spider Queen itself. So the Spider Queen is leading 6 Mirkwood spiders and 8 giant spiders, as well as a bat swarm. And then Ashrak has another 4 giant spiders with him, with the Venomback upgrade. So, yeah, yikes. This is a very interesting take. It's basically like not Assault of Lothlorien, but kinda.
Yeah.
It's what people used to run when they were trying to make Durzak and Ashrak work. Before Assault on Lothlorien was released, they would ally in Spider Queen and some spiders that way, and see if they could do some tricky shenanigans that way. 54 models, but all of it is really low defense. At least the spiders have 2 wounds apiece, so they're slightly harder to kill. Yeah, the one thing I am worried about is that the Mirkwood spiders have gigantic bases, and the giant spiders are also on 40 mil bases, so you might actually struggle getting all of those spiders into the enemy. And Druzak and Ashrak obviously don't reroll their casting outside of the Legendary Legion, which makes the Enraged Beast and Shroud of Shadows shenanigans a lot less reliable. Yeah, you can just fluff that roll and roll a 2 or something. It sucks.
In general, I think this list is quite vulnerable to shooting.
I think that's an understatement.
Yeah. And with the amount of shooting available, this could be an issue.
Yeah. Well, at least, I mean, if you really have to, you can run forward with spiders and engage to make the shooting stop, but then you're probably engaging with a bunch of spiders that are wounded.
Yeah, you have a lot of spiders that are already wounded. They're isolated because your goblins only move 5 each turn. So it will take them a couple turns to catch up.
Yeah. But it's got 2 bows, so it can shoot back.
Always good to see the honesty bows.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'll be interested in seeing how well this does. Because, I mean, Enraged Spider Queen sounds hilarious. I don't think the Spider Queen usually needs it, but, you know, the fact that it's possible.
Something big that just needs to die.
Just make it bigger. Yeah. Cool.
If he can close the distance, I think it could do quite well. But he needs to get close before he gets shot off the board.
Yeah, and then, like I said, I think you're going to have a very hard time leveraging all of your spiders. Because, like, even cavalry armies have trouble fitting in 20 models at a time. And then this one has 6 models that have even larger bases. There it says 4 bows. Oh, it's right, the bows are from Warg Marauders. Yep, I am blind.
Yeah, it is that Tabletop Admiral tells us it's 2 bows, but yeah, that should be 4.
Yeah. I mean, Tabletop Admiral is not perfect. Don't rely on it for rules or for everything, because I see it still has some mistakes. But it's really good for this building, so.
Yeah, and the developer does respond usually quite quickly if you send him a message about an issue.
Yes. Absolutely.
Anyway, let's go to the next list before we go even more. Speaking of issues with Tabletop Admiral, apparently engineer captains can get war gear. Tabletop Admiral does not allow this.
If you say so. I've never seen anyone take an engineer captain, so...
Me neither.
I'll take your word for it.
I had to double check this rule, and it is true that they can take any war gear that a captain could, except for any mounted war gear.
Fair enough. So you could technically take a lance.
It could.
Nice.
There's less reason to take that than to take the engineer captain in the first place.
Yes. No, not saying you should, but it could. So yeah, this is another Minas Tirith list with 50 models. It's led by Gandalf the White. It has as well Faramir in it with a bow, no armor, no nothing, just a bow, and a captain of Minas Tirith on foot with a shield, and then finally Damrod leading 6 rangers. The other warbands are all a mix of some knights, some warriors with shields, some Fountain Court guards. We have some regular spear supports. So looking at this, it's also mostly fight 3. There's only a few Fountain Court guards in there that can spear support for fight 4. And then it's got a Battlecry Trebuchet for 150 points, because it's not just a Trebuchet, it's a Trebuchet with an engineering captain who has a shield and flaming ammunition.
Yes.
This is the most expensive Trebuchet I've ever seen and ever will see, unless somebody also takes a lance on the captain.
Yeah.
Or bow.
The flaming ammunition will only be useful against any possible Mumax that show up.
Yep.
Because it only works against siege targets.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, and I forgive you for not knowing because nobody ever takes it, flaming ammunition lets you reroll once to wound a siege target. And the trebuchet already has a special rule that says whenever you hit a siege target, you roll 2 dice and then you pick the highest one for your wound rolls. So it's a little bit redundant, but if you're hitting a siege target, you're definitely going to wound the siege target, because you'd have to roll really shit not to wound it. But yeah, it's the most expensive trebuchet ever, but if Mumax show up, then this trebuchet will definitely, if it hits them, wound them for 1 wound, because they're a siege target and it only deals 1 wound.
Yeah, but with a Mumax, if you're lucky, then they fail the Courage test and you can stampede them.
Fair enough. But of course, we laugh about Trebuchet, but then there's the rest of the list to consider. We also have Gandalf and Faramir, which I frequently bash as being overcosted for what they do. And you kind of notice this in the model count, right? It's only 15 models. Yes, there's 8 bows in the Trebuchet, so it does have a decent amount of shooting. But it only has like 4 models that can contribute 5-4 to the fighting. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Oh, Stefan says there's 5 points left. No, there's not 5 points left. Those 5 points have been spent on the shield for the engineer captain.
Yes. Those 5 points could have probably been better spent giving Ranger spears.
Yeah, but...
And
you know,
probably the 50 points for the engineer captain could have been better spent getting more Rangers with spears all around, so you have a more shooting heavy army that's then supported by a trebuchet.
But it's cool.
That is true. I will give you that.
And also, it might just be a model availability thing. 1,000 points is a lot. People's collections aren't always that big. So if this is what you got and you have points to spare, why not throw an engineer captain on a trebuchet, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's very possibly the issue, the reason here.
Yep.
And that trebuchet has 2 might, so...
Yeah, better watch
might
out.
on a trebuchet can matter suddenly a lot.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. And next we have Menel with Rise of the Necromancer with all the Nazgul.
Yes, all the things. It's literally all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's... No, it doesn't have any Castellans.
Well, yes, but you know what I mean. Yeah, it's all of the Nazgul, and the Necromancer, and the Keeper of the Dungeons. It has 25 might, so this is the other list with 25 might. So for those of you that don't know, the Nazgul Rise of the Necromancer list is a Legendary Legion that gives the Necromancer some bonuses that makes the Nazgul even harder to kill. And they have...
The Necromancer can cast magic twice every turn, I think.
Correct, yeah. So, Jeroen from the White Scars has done quite well with this list a few times in Articon. So in the right hands it can definitely do really well, but it's a tricky list to play, and also a very tricky list to play against, because things just keep coming back, and they come back within 3 inches of where they were killed, so suddenly these things can be behind your line, and it's generally just a headache to play against, but they also really struggle against 5/5 lists, or just elves and stuff like that, so they definitely have weak matchups as well. But, you know, in the right hands, this can do really well.
I've watched a game of this once, which was Rise of the Necromancer against Barad-dûr, which got hilarious because apparently Sauron just ripped apart the Necromancer really quickly, and then it became Whack-a-Nazgul.
Yep. Yeah, I don't really have many comments on this.
It's bringing all the things.
If you're coming to this event and you don't know what this Legendary Legion does or what the Nazgul do, which is understandable considering you don't see them often, just read up on the Legendary Legion and the Nazgul. It's too much to go over on the stream right now.
And we go on, and we have a pure Mordor list, which just has a lot of magic and a couple people who will hit.
Yes. So it's the Witch King, of course, with the crown, a horse, some might, some fate, some extra will. And it's got the Mouth of Sauron, Shagrat, Gorbag, and Musgur. It's your typical approach where there's Numenorians in front, Morans with shields and spear behind. I think it's got 2 banners. Yes, it's got 2 banners in this list. A few trackers mixed in, a few Morgul Knights. And I think the big thing to watch out for is that, there's 3 casters in here, all of which have transfix. So this list can definitely turn off big threats and then send Shagrat in to kill them. or maybe Black Dart or Horse, then tackle them with Shagrat, and then suddenly they have to be scared from the knockdowns and things like that. So this is definitely a list where Shagrat can have the potential to shine, because he normally kind of struggles with really utilizing his hitting power, and the casters can make that happen.
So it's 3 casters, Shagrat, Gorbag, and 59 models total.
Yeah.
So you have 3 casters, a bunch of dudes, and at least one really hard-hitting hero.
Yeah. You know what I find really annoying about this list, though? Mm-hmm. I can't help but look at it and look at the 2 banners. I'm like, you know what? For 50 more points and just dropping those 2 banners, you could just have Suladan.
Fair.
And it's still a Green Alliance, and it's a 6-inch banner, and it's annoying how efficient Suladan is, especially next to a Green Alliance into Mordor. But no, it's a solid list. It's nothing special, I would say. There's no tricks here. It's good casting, it's good heroes, it's a lot of models. It's just going to do the typical Mordor things.
It's going to do typical Mordor things, and it's going to do a lot of typical Mordor things.
Yes, it's going to do 1,000 points worth of typical Mordor things.
Yep. So I think we can just keep moving then.
Yes.
And we get to Nino with one of my other favorite lists.
Yes. So we alluded a lot to siege targets with the souped up trebuchet, and here are your siege targets. It's 1,000 points of Grand Army of the South, which is 2 Mumaks, one of which is the Mumak War Leader, and Suladan, for a total of 21 models, of which most of them are in the Haudas, and only 3 Raiders are on the ground together with Suladan.
Yeah. So 4 of your 21 models are on the ground, the rest is a Mumak or on a Mumak.
Yeah, I will say though, one of the Mumaks has the repelling lines, so if there is some objective play that needs to happen, he can also tactically drop models off.
And I think the Mumak War Leader comes with repelling lines as well, if I remember correctly.
I have to take your word for it, I don't know it that well.
I think the Mumak War Leader comes with basically all the upgrades.
Yeah, so something to watch out for, I think it's wrong here as well. It says the list is 11 wide, but I think that should be 8 or 9. There's a bug in Tabletop Admiral where the War Mumak and the Mumak War Leader are showing up as too much might.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a little less might, probably.
Yeah. So what's interesting about this is, I don't know how much terrain there's going to be. That's always a huge factor of Mumaks, right? 6 Zulans, 3 Riders, and 2 Camels. Where's the Camels? Oh, there's more Hood Raiders with the War Leader.
Oh, hey.
I missed that. So there's only 5 for Wadrum in the Hauda there, and 2 of them on the ground. Yeah, okay. So it's a little bit more cavalry to do annoying things.
Mm-hmm.
So this list is very much going to depend on how much scenery there is, and it's going to be very weak against magic, but very strong against other things, and if it wins the roll-off, and also Maelstrom is going to be hilarious with this.
Yeah, I mean, it does have the somewhat advantage that both Mumaks have the Sigils of Defiance, so they do all have resistance. So there is that.
That helps. That helps a lot.
Yeah, Nino actually told me his rationale for this list at some point, which was he brought a Mumak to the Scouring of Schiedam in January.
Yes.
And found that the main problem with that list was that his Mumak could only be in one place at the same time.
Uh-huh.
So he found a solution.
Of course, 2 Mumaks.
Yeah.
Duh.
However, due to the bigger playing size, this is actually only a minor upgrade in Mumak per area.
Mumak per square foot.
Per square foot.
Nice. Yeah, no, I mean, you have to love to see it. It could be really annoying to come up against. It could be hilarious to come up against. I don't think Nino really likes seeing all of those bolt throwers.
No.
Because strength 7 shots against your Mumak is just not fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah, and that War Mumak, I think, has an actual risk of trampling and going off into the War Leader if you put them too close together with the bolt thrower.
Yep. So you might have to spread them apart, but then it might just get shot to pieces or charged and struck down. It's tricky.
Yeah.
But Nino knows Mumaks really well, so if there's anyone that can make this work, it's definitely Nino.
It should be fun either way.
Yes.
Next list, we have another great one.
Yes, we have Rainier, our American friend.
I've counted, this contains a total of 10 camels.
Nice. It's almost a quarter of the list.
Yes.
So we have Serpent Horde and Far Harad. Sul'dan, of course, as the leader, with some mix of Haradrims and Serpent Rider and some Merchant Guard. Raza with a similar kind of mix with him. But then the Mahout contingent starts, and it doesn't end until 4 warbands later, because we have 4 Mahout kings, all of them, of course, on camel with a spear with them. There's 6 half-trolls in total, some Mahout warriors mixed in, and 6 Mahout raiders on top. So yeah, 10 camels in total.
So at some point there'll be every turn 10 impact hits. That's going to add up.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets charged first, that's the big thing, of course. Like, I've played against Mahouts, especially Mahout Kings, they're super good. This is a bit light on the model count, and it is very fragile. So it requires the Mahout Kings to do a lot of work. Like, if you can get those charges off and you kill those models with the Kings, then it should be alright from there. But if they don't do the business, then you're probably in trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a scary prospect, because all those Kings have strike, all those Kings are strength 4, 5, off the top of my head. And they have a war spear, so they hit like absolute trucks, and they can strike against anything.
They hit like trucks when coming in and in the fight phase.
Yes. Some band in the chat, Larry's telling people to run the Mumaks into each other for 3 strength 9 hits on both. And Nina's like, no, don't do that.
This is what trebuchets are for. You hit the Mumak and run it into the other one.
Well, I mean, you do have the space, Nina, to spread them out and have them far away enough from each other that you can't hit each other with the trample. That's something. Alright.
Let's go to our next list.
We have another one.
Serpent Horde Far Harad.
I don't see as many Kings here.
No, we do see a fell beast though.
Yes, and 13 half-trolls.
Yeah.
That's a thing. So yeah, same model count as the last list. Sul'dan again, no Raza, but the Betrayer on a fell beast this time. And then 2 Mahout Kings, one of which is leading 13 half-trolls, and the other one who has 4 raiders with him.
Yeah, so this list only has 6 camels.
Yes, but it has 13 half-trolls. So this one's definitely more like, I'm going to fight with my troops rather than with my camels. I think the Betrayer is an interesting take, because there's not actually that many poison weapons, all things considered, because the half-trolls don't have poison weapons, I don't think.
Yeah, there's 12 bows, and all of those are poisoned.
Yeah. It's decent, but I don't know.
At any other point number, I would say that's quite a decent number of shots. However, here it seems roughly average, and if you could have put a bit more work into that.
Yeah. But the Betrayer is still a spellcaster on a fell beast that can just kill things after compelling them, so it's not a bad inclusion. It definitely gives you the toolkit that you kind of want on this points level, like this big flying threat, this utility piece, and that's just the one that you have access to in the Serpent Horde, right? So, and if you can spend the will point to make your entire force reroll wounds for a turn in a situation where it makes sense, and then it's still a pretty good deal.
Yeah, that will still help killing things.
Yep, absolutely.
Keep going, and we get another skilled up version of a Nations Cup list.
Yes, this is Rosalie, who won the best good player in the Nations Cup with the Rivendell Knights list. And this is basically dropped Radagast on an eagle into that list and called it a day.
Yeah.
So Radagast with Sebastian is, off the top of my head, like 3 or 4 dice on the charge. 4 dice on the charge.
On the charge will probably be 4, yeah.
Yeah, so Sebastian adds 1, the charge adds 1 to the 2 of the eagle normally. What can I say? It's a Rivendell Knights list. It's going to kite for days. Círdan gives it some really good utility against shooting, against terror. Aragorn can make sure everything marches and shoots, and yeah. So it's a good, well-rounded list, but really low model count. But Rosalie is very good at making it work and making it count.
Yeah, if she can stay near Círdan to keep the blinding light up everywhere, then it's also going to be difficult to shoot in it properly.
I will say though, fitting everything into a blinding light bubble is easier said than done, because I've personally caught her with like not having it being in. Like, she had a nice line. I was like, oh well, this line is less than 12 inches long, so everything should be in a bubble. But Círdan was a little bit behind it, so that the lines was actually a triangle, which takes up a little bit more. So the outer Rivendell Knights were out, and they got shot up by bolt throwers.
Right.
So it's tricky.
It might also be good to note that this one has, for when it does charge, 2 Nature's Wrath, Wrath of the Brunnen hits, because Radagast has Nature's Wrath.
Yes.
Elrond with Wrath of the Brunnen. That
Yes.
can knock down a significant portion of the battle line.
Yeah, but Nature's Wrath at least doesn't do the strength hits, so that helps. It's just knockdown.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, you definitely don't want to charge on the turn that you have priority with this list. You're going to go in when you lose priority. So,
yeah,
it's scary. It's a low model count, but it can definitely do the business. Yeah, Larry has a good point actually. Siege engines love this because they all want to be within the range of Círdan, but it's really big bases. So if you hit, and honestly you're going to bite up a 5 to hit against this list probably anyways, then it's going to hit something good.
And the Mumakiel's walking over this as well.
Yep. So yeah, very matchup and scenario dependent, I think.
Mm-hmm. Could do really well. It will be piloted very well. We'll have to see how it does.
Yep, absolutely.
And next we have another Minas Tirith with some extra spellcasting added for flavor.
Yes. So Ruben's always been he's been doing this for a while now, where he just takes Minas Tirith and allies something into it. Usually it's Gwaihir, but this time he went for something different. Denethor's the leader. Of course, Boromir is coming along, and Madril as well. With a mix of Fountain Court Guard, Warriors, Knights, Rangers with Spears, the usual stuff that you see in the Minas Tirith list. But then added on top of that is 335 points of White Council, with Radagast with a Staff of Power swapped for an Eagle, so on Eagle with Sebastian, and then Galadriel, Lady of Light, added in there, which is an auto blinding light type thing.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the same as blinding light because it doesn't do the thing where in darkness you can still see balls,
okay.
blah 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 blah. But it's the same effect. It's basically Shadow Lord.
For most intents and purposes, it's blinding light.
Yeah, it's basically Shadow Lord, except having to spend will for it.
Yeah.
And really solid combat hero, right? Lady of Light, 3 attacks, fight 6. It's and she the only other spell she has is like Instill Fear and Banishment or something.
Yeah.
So it's not much of a caster anymore, but it's very strong.
I think the fact that she's a hero of Fortitude now, she got nerfed a while ago, I believe, is the main reason Radagast is in this list.
Yep. Well, it's either that or Saruman that you have to grab to ally in, or maybe Gandalf, but Gandalf's worse than both of those options.
Yeah. And then there is also just 14 bows, which I think will all hit on 3+ in Blinding Light.
Yep.
Well, part of it will be in Blinding Light.
Yep. So there's no siege. So instead of siege, it's just like those 2 casters. But I think those 2 casters add enough to Minas Tirith to make it worthwhile. So it's definitely interesting to see.
And of course, there is also Fortified Spirit in there, I believe. If that's what chat is saying.
Is this from Lady of Light or from Radagast?
I don't know.
I don't know these niche things that well. I don't usually see these in tournaments. People bringing weird stuff. Come on, I'll look that up in a minute.
Yeah, but a Fortified Spirit is well pretty good if you can.
If you have the time.
Boromir fortified.
Yeah, if you have the time for it, then it's good. But that's usually the issue with Fortified Spirit. If you, well, I mean, Blinding Light is already up, so that's.
Blinding Light is up. This is a shooting army, so it will probably deploy a bit further back. Lady of Light, apparently.
Yeah. Okay.
So you would deploy a bit further back, so you could probably at least get Boromir fortified.
Yeah. But then again, is it really a shooting army, though? Like, it's 14 bows, but it's 1,000 points, and they're only strength 2, so, like, how many things are they actually going to kill?
Fair. I think of this as a shooting army, because it is at bow limit. However, I forget, there is bolt throwers that outshoot this on their own.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and again, you know, a 6-inch bow is not that much on a 6x4 board, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, interesting list. I think it definitely has legs, because it's got that, you know, flying monster, it's got a bunch of casting shenanigans, and Denethor, Boromir, Madril, and Minas Tirith is just a really solid core, so just some extra stuff added onto that is, I don't see why it wouldn't do well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Moving on. Again, we go to Sandy with another Serpent Horde Vadrad.
This is really popular.
Yeah, it is.
It's a lot of this stuff going around. So this one doesn't have 44 models. This one has 59 models.
Yeah, this one went a bit more in the Horde direction.
Yes.
We got Suladan, Betrayer, Raza, a Taskmaster, and a Mahut King. With Haradan warriors sprinkled around, some Serpent Guard, some Watchers of Karna, 6 half-trolls, and 2 raiders.
Yep. So a very light contingent of Mahut, just a single Mahut King and a few half-trolls in there. Mostly just Serpent Horde. And the
Notably an extra banner.
Yeah. Interesting. But I think worth it at this point.
Yeah, at this model count with this amount of the size that your line would be, a second banner here is a good idea. Because at this point, Suladan won't cover everything anymore.
Yeah. I also like the inclusion of the Taskmaster. At this point, it starts becoming worth it, where if you're starting to hit at 4+ for the might to come back, you have enough heroes around you calling moves and stuff. If you're good with the positioning of the Taskmaster, that's going to give you a lot of might back. Mm-hmm. So yeah, very much a list where it's like my warriors need to do the work, right? But then there's the Betrayer that can help them do that work.
There's 23 bows and a Betrayer. That is kind of scary, to be honest.
Yes, and in combat that also works for the regular Haradan warriors, because their regular weapons are also poisoned. So. Quite nasty indeed.
Yeah, so this can definitely kill. It can win combats with just having more dice, because it will have a banner most likely.
Yeah, I am looking though, and there's not a lot of 5/4. So there's only 4 Serpent Guards in Suldan Warband, 3 in the Betrayer, and 2 Watchers of Karna with Raza. So most of the Serpent Horde like gun line is fight 3, and then of course there's the 6 half-thralls. So there's some higher fight in there. But in a lot of combats you will just be stuck at fight 3, so there's a risk where if you get an engagement, you might just lose everything because your opponent's fight 4.
Yeah.
Alright, I think next up is the list that I hate.
Yes, I love the idea of this list.
No, go away.
I don't have to play against it. So it is Witch King, a budget ring wraith, Gorbag, 2 war catapults, Suladan.
Yeah.
With a black Numenorian line, some trackers, some serpent riders.
I feel like you're not doing the list justice here. You kind of gloss over the fact there's just 2 catapults here.
Yeah. I figured we'd spend some time talking about that.
There's 330 points worth of catapults here.
Yeah.
What are you doing? So
with severed heads as well.
Yeah, I know. The only thing that kind of like feel like a missed opportunity here is there's no Golden King of Abercorn, because you can like spend will to make people feel their courage test. So like you shoot severed heads on the hero and then you just throw 4 will at it, and then now that hero's gone. It's like a really nasty combo.
Oh, that is nasty.
That's a list that I actually drew up, not with 2 catapults, but just 1. So it was a Golden King, catapults, Witch King, and some other stuff. Yeah, so 46 models still, but I will say that 8 of those are manning the catapults.
Yeah, and I think the Witch King does have a somewhat low will count, because it's only on 12 will.
Yeah.
Which means you need to be a bit more sparing with how you use your casting.
Yep. Yeah, and also you don't really want to get the Witch King into combat. And same for the budget Wraith, it only has 1 extra will, so it does have 2 casters, but they're not going to be casting spells all game. And also the wall of troops is kind of thin. So like, yes, 2 catapults, scary, but once you get into combat with this and the catapults haven't hit the jackpot, then you know.
Remind me, do Wraiths have Drain Courage? I think they do, right?
Yes, and then cast it on 2+.
Yeah, so maybe these are just Drain Courage for the heroes, and then you hit them with the head, and...
Oh, absolutely. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
But I would do that and have a Golden King of Abercorn. So then when
really
they still like roll like a 9 on their curses, you can just throw 3 will at it and like, no you don't, and then they run away.
Go away!
Yeah. I don't care that you have a Lendil, you failed your courage test. Oh no, I forget, is he fearless? I don't know. It obviously doesn't work against Fearless or against Bodyguard, so...
that is the bigger issue.
Yeah. But, don't underestimate the fact that the race can also just compel scattered targets back into the line and then just throw rocks at it instead of heads. And just
if it's
kill
needed,
things.
you can still just throw rocks, especially against some of the smaller lists. That will still work very well.
Yeah. Rivendell Knights, for example, just throw rocks, don't throw heads. Just kill them.
This is maybe one of the few cases where sometimes the range on a catapult might actually have to be measured. Because I think on a 6x4 board it is technically possible to be outside of range.
What's their max range? Is it 48 or is it like 70 something?
I think it's 70 something. I think it's 76.
I know that the Iron Hills Ballista is one that even on a regular board can run out of range if you put it all the way in the corner.
Yeah, I know specifically with the volley fire of the trebuchet and the catapult, they have huge range which on a regular board you cannot get out. But I think on a 6x4, if you're along the diagonal towards the end, you could be out of range.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hate it. But what else can I say? It's going to be such a chore to play against this and have to position all of your models as scattered targets and things like that. And it's going to be Yeah.
I love it conceptually, and I'm very happy I'm not playing.
Yep.
Next, we have another Minas Tirith list with another couple bolt throwers.
I think this is the last list, and I think it's very fitting that we close off with some more Siege. And yet another Gandalf.
Yeah, here we've got Gandalf, Boromir, and Hurin, so...
it's a hard-hitting hero core. A relatively high amount of Fountain Court guards, so there's 14 in total. And it has a lot of warriors with shield spear. So it's kind of taking the same approach to the warriors as my list, except there's a lot more cavalry mixed in. There's 6 knights in total. So otherwise, similar approach to my list, just with different heroes. So I think maybe that's a fair comparison to draw as well, considering they're so close to each other. When you look at this list versus what I'm bringing, I've got 15 models and one more bolt thrower, and I've got an eagle. Here we've got Gandalf instead and Hurin, which are the two main differentiating factors, and some more cavalry, right? So
yeah,
it's a different approach to the same list, and it just goes to show how expensive Gandalf is, especially if you put him next to something like Boromir.
Yeah, I at some point, just for fun, if this list replaced Gandalf with a captain, I think you could take 3 more bolt throwers.
Well, no, because you can only take 1 per hero of fortitude, but I get your point.
Fair enough.
If you replace Gandalf with 2 captains, you could take 2 more bolt throwers.
Yes, that would work.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's a thing. I mean, Gandalf is... It's not like Gandalf's bad, it's just he's so expensive.
He's expensive. That's the thing, with 1,000 points you can make him work. But he's still probably too expensive.
Yeah, that's the struggle, isn't it? It's the eternal struggle of Gandalf. You want to play him because he's so awesome as of a character, so iconic, such a powerful arsenal of spells, and a decent fighter in combat as well. It's so expensive for what he does.
Providing the blinding light here is useful.
Yeah, with the blinding light, you can win most shooting wars with the bolt thrower, but it'll be tricky to fit your entire force within the 6-inch bubble. But if you use terrain smartly, you might be able to hide half of your army behind terrain and keep the other half within the blinding light, something along those lines.
I think with the amount of wraiths we've seen, Banish might also actually come into play here.
Absolutely. It's not the only Banish that we have access to, because Lady of Light has it. Yeah, and there's 1 or 2 more Gandalfs, so that could be popping up.
So that could come into play a lot, to just banish out wraiths and then suddenly have an overwhelming magic advantage.
Yep, absolutely. I'm mostly going to be interested in seeing how the 6x4s affect the games, because I personally also don't have a lot of experience on 6x4 boards, and judging by the list people have submitted, I don't think a lot of people have experience of 6x4s.
Judging by how few people have 6x4 mats, I can probably agree.
I don't even have them.
There were 3 people who brought one. I bought one as a prize, which we also will be using for playing, and then the White Scars provided 6.
Nice. Oh, it's a good sneak peek at the price support. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great. Well, I think that was the final list, but we have some more stats to look at, right?
For fun, I counted the siege engines.
Yes.
So we have 2 Mordor catapults, both in the same list, 2 trebuchets, and 7 bolt throwers.
So we have 11 siege engines in 20 lists.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the highest percentage of siege that we've had at an event.
Yes,
Just
and
full stop.
I will hazard a guess that it might be the highest amount of siege engines, at least the highest percentage of siege weapons we'll have at an event.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy. Well, I'm really looking forward to playing and seeing how this all plays out. Hoping people in the chat enjoyed the previews. Somebody's like, why am I going to this tournament? I know, man.
It'll be fun.
It'll be fun, they said. You have a lot of points, they said. And then there's siege engines.
The thing you forget when you say you'll have a lot of points is the other one will also have a lot of points.
And what do you bring when you have a lot of points? Apparently it's not big hero, it's just siege.
Yeah.
Unless you're like Nino and you bring 2 Moonbucks or Jesper and you bring just only heroes. I mean, shout out to those guys, that's just cool.
If you are interested, I could quickly go over my prize support, because I do have it all prepared and most of it in my house.
Sure, absolutely. Love to see it.
So yeah, as I said, probably the first prize will be a 6x4 gaming mat from GameMats.eu. They very nicely provided most of that. Wonderful guys. I think I have 5 different sets of dice from Baron of Dice.
Nice.
Yeah. I have got 2 models, 2 blister packs. I've got a Rohan Royal Guard and a Keeper of the Dungeons.
Mm-hmm.
Jesper will also be bringing one of his printed out scenario cards sets.
Nice.
Which will be the second version, so they will be slightly upgraded from what people got last month. Was that everything? I think that was it.
Awesome. And how will you be dividing the prizes? Is it just like based on ranking or also sportsmanship, painting? Like what are you going to be looking at?
Everyone on podium will get a prize.
Mm-hmm.
Best painted, best sporting. I'll have 3 spot prizes. So every round I'll set some objective or set some horrible thing that can happen to you, and the first one who it happens to will get something to ease the pain. And finally, because I had a prize left over, I have decided to give a prize to the most creative list.
Okay.
Which I have a good idea who's getting, but I'm not 100% sure yet.
Okay. Well, we'll have to just show up to the event and then see, right?
Yeah, there are 2 or 3 very good contenders for most creative list.
Nice. I like it. Amazing. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to put everything together and organize this event. I think I can speak on behalf of everyone that really looking forward to it. Amazing to have a 1,000-point event. And just nice to take the time and go through the lists and get a little bit of excitement together, a little anticipation for the event.
Yeah, I'll make sure to email all the lists to all the participants as well now.
Yes.
I held them back a bit longer than planned to do this reveal like this.
Awesome.
I'll make sure everyone can go over them in their own time as well.
Yes, take some notes, people. Look up what spells people can cast, because I don't know, apparently.
And if you haven't looked it up, just assume they can cast all spells.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me. Thanks everyone for attending and chatting in the comments. And see you on Saturday for the ones that are attending, and for the rest of you, see you next time.